In this video, I want to go over something that every offensive coordinator does, but probably gets overlooked by fans. We're going to look at how offensive coordinators layer their offense and repurpose concepts in different ways. If you really love the nerdy part about offensive football, this video is for you. Let's go. All right, so here's what we got for the first play. We have 2 receivers to the field and 3 receivers here into the boundary. Now this is going to be a single receiver, a tight end, and a running back. But either way, we're able to have 3 guys running routes here with only 2 on this side. Now they end up throwing this to the field side, okay, but I really want to focus more on this. I'll quickly talk about this slot fade here. So what they have with this is they're putting this guy on the line of scrimmage. They have the slot fade. Essentially, if the corner stays in the flats, they have a one-on-one that they can really take, okay? And if this safety, I mean, even if he jumps out, we still have the ability to throw this into that hole shot there, more of a back shoulder type of fade ball, or dropped in. We just have to beat this guy with some speed. But what ends up happening is the corner ends up bailing, and with this number 2 pressing vertical, the nickel is going to stay on, and then we have a gain hitch here on the bottom. So he's just going to attack a little bit, but he's more focused on getting width, and he's not really focused on getting too much depth here. As long as he catches the ball in space, he has the ability to run after the catch, which is what they show on the film. Now on this side of the field, what we have is going to be a glance, a wheel, and something by the running back here. Now this is a sit route, and we'll see later on, and the Dolphins actually do this a lot, where instead of running this little glance route, they're going to run, or instead of running this little sit route, they're going to run a flat. So the benefit of doing this, right? The glance route is really nice. You're just going to tell this guy to break to space. Now this could be flatter, it could be a dig, it could be a little bit of a higher angle. Normally the flatter angles are better, and you just tell this guy, hey, break to daylight. And what's going to happen with this is the will ends up being the guy who's getting to the inside hip here. And once he breaks, we're just going to flatten this out, and the space is going to be on the opposite side of the will, okay? Not in front of him, not over here. It's going to be back there, okay? So we're not really trying to throw the ball here. We are trying to throw the ball here, okay? Opposite side of the will. So he's going to attack vertical. We break, okay? 5 steps, 3 steps, doesn't really matter. If you have your outside foot up, then it could be a 4-step route. I've also seen that. And then our tight end here is going to be running this wheel route up the sidelines, okay? And now what this does, the defensive end is going to be the flat defender on this side of the field. So as this wheel route takes off, okay, and this guy stems vertical, the corner has to play a little bit of a midline type of technique. He's going to have to play in between this number 1 receiver, or actually this would be the number 2 at that point, and that would be the number 1 receiver. So he's going to have to split the difference between the 2 of them, and then the flat defender has to choose whether he wants to run with this wheel or play this sit route underneath by the running back. So this is a really good bind with these 2 players here to put this flat defender in, right? And then what we could do is layer this a little bit more, and they do this at some point later in the game, where they have this wheel here. So they have the glance, they have the wheel, and then they have the flat. Okay, so whoever the flat defender is, they're not sure whether it's going to be the flat route or the sit route. Okay, so those 2 kind of complement each other, and we're able to make sure we find some space and mix those 2 things up to confuse this guy. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the film so we can see how it plays out on the field. All right, so what we have here is the slot fade and the gain hitch right down here. Now the ball ends up going here, and I want you to look at the quarterback's footwork for this. So it's just a catch, step, and right when that back foot plants, catch, step, back foot hits, and then they're able to just let it rip. Catch it here. We're not really too far downfield. We're only about 3 yards downfield, but now he has the ability to catch, make people miss, get himself an easy 10 yards and a first down. But this is what I want to look at right here. So this is the glance route. This is going to be our wheel, and this is going to be our sit route. Now again, we'll see this later on where they have the ability to run that flat. But see how this plays out right here, okay? This guy is dropping into this area. Flat defender, who the defensive end, essentially, he ends up bailing. And now this wheel, right, becomes open enough. This corner is going to have to stay over the top of this and kind of split the 2 of them. So this is a bad situation for this corner to be in, right? And then if this flat defender here widens out too much, we have the ability to throw this sit. If he stays tighter, then we have the ability to throw the wheel. So right now, everybody's a little bit in no man's land. Okay, the only reason we can't throw this glance right now is because this underneath defender ends up getting right exactly to that spot. So quarterback would have to come off. If he went to this side, he'd have to come off and go from 1 to 2 to the 3, which is the check down there. And now let's take a look at another way they can use the exact same concept, but this time they add a play action to this, right, to help with those linebackers, and they have the glance route be the number one side they're looking at. They don't even have anything on the backside. Let's jump into the diagram. Alrighty, so let's get into this pretty cool formation here and this whole concept. So what we have into the boundary, we've got our glance, and we've got our wheel, and instead of having the running back run this little sit route here, we actually have a play action fake to try and draw these backers up a little bit, and that will open up the glance behind it, right? So we have this play action, and then the running back technically could be responsible for this backside defensive end because everybody on the offensive line is responsible for their play side gap. Okay, you'll see that even with the center here who step into the left, his eyes are going to be to the right. So if this defensive end, this 3-tech, if he slants inside, we're going to be able to take that with our center and solve that problem. Everybody else is picked up. The only guy who is not handled with this is going to be the defensive end. Now, with the H running here immediately at the snap and a Y slicing across at the snap, this helps to solve that problem. And then you also have the tailback who can pick this up on the backside. So this could be a play action and then have the running back take and handle the backside C gap. Now what we have from this, we have our glance route here, okay, 5 steps, 3 steps. He actually runs this more of a 3-step, and then he's breaking and running to space here. And because we have this action and that action, both of these two underneath defenders really fly over, and then glance comes open behind both of them. And then they're able to throw this in here for a very, very good catch and a huge gain. All right, so now let's take a look at what we have. So this is our backfield right here. Here's our tight end, not really in a wing, but he's kind of off a little bit more like a sniffer in that sense here. Running backs here, and then our slot receiver in a receiver position is back even behind the tight end. So this is a pretty funky formation what we have. But here's what we're going to have. We're going to have our glance route here. He's running this wheel, okay? He's going to be faking this play action. He's coming across and running into the flat. So let's go ahead and take a look at this glance route first because this is the one that they actually hit, right? So he's running 3 steps. Now he's looking for the ball. He sees that the space is inside, so he starts to bend it. I do think he could have sprinted a little bit faster, okay? But the point with this is you don't need to be full speed. Not everything has to be full speed with these receivers. Really, you just want to get to space, okay? Especially if you can make catches like this. That's quite impressive here. But I'm sure his coach told him to pick up the pace a little bit. Now let's see what this does to the defense. Corner ends up playing this wheel right in here. And then in order to play the flat, the defensive end is actually going to stay and kind of chip this a little bit. So he's not, even though he's unblocked, he is not really fast getting to the quarterback here, okay? So this is something that I'm sure they saw on film, that when we slice across, defensive end is going to try and chip, and that tells the quarterback that he has a comfortable pocket that he can operate in to make this throw. Okay, now if they end up bailing with this wheel route here, and we end up covering this glance with one of these backers here, this would have to be the check down, okay, out into the flats. Let's go ahead and take a look at the end zone cam so we can see how this really plays out from that view. So what I want you to take a look at right here is watch this center, right? So he's punching with his left hand, but his eyes are shifted over here, okay? And then once he realizes these guys have it, he comes off and takes a shot. Now this is something that you really want to have your offensive linemen do, to always be looking for work, right? That's going to be an important part of this. And then watch these backers here. When these guys fly out, right? When he flies out immediately, he's taken off. As the tight end slices across, 48, the mic is also going to take out. And then we have this space right underneath inside that we can attack, okay? Under the safety, over the backers, and inside the backers. 8 widens a little bit, 48 widens a little bit, and then boom right there. Really good catch, by the way, okay? Now we have a nice completion for a big chunk. So this is the battle that offensive coordinators are always trying to play. This is the chess match, right? What you want to do is take the same concepts, same plays, and then run them from a ton of different formations, different looks, different alignments from the backfield, all that stuff. So what you end up doing is layering the offense and saying, okay, well, we're going to run this play. And if you do this to take it away, we have a little adjustment. So something as very simple as running a sit route by the running back versus a flat route. it makes that flat defender have to choose and keep him guessing. And this is really the benefit of doing this. It allows you to make the defensive players think a lot more and get them to not trust their reads, right? That's one of the goals of an offensive coordinator, is to try and get them to not trust their defensive coordinator. And then we always put them in a bind, make them wrong, and frustrate the hell out of them. That's the goal. And if this is the type of stuff that you really nerd out about and love, you're going to love the OC Academy that I have. You can check that out in the description below. There is a ton of information in there. Everything that you need to know to become an offensive coordinator is included in this. I kind of went overboard, so there's no topics that are not covered, but that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next video.